What is up, everybody? Welcome to the first ever episode of Into the Necrosphere, a show that will be entirely dedicated to death metal, black metal, extreme music, and whatever the fuck else I feel like talking about. I am your host, Jackie Smith. Thank you so much for taking the time to check us out, and also thank you so much to Sean the Machine, the proprietor of the Metalhead Pub, for giving me the ass kicking I needed to get this up and off the ground. So our first inaugural interview is going to be with Marco of the band Stellar Master Elite, and I just want to apologize for the sound quality. It was the first time that the first in about 7 attempts that we made to actually make this interview happen. And we got stopped for various technical reasons, but we will be upgrading the microphones and cameras here on the mean streets of, or actually the mean street studio, over the course of the coming weeks. So the future episodes that we do, will sound a lot better. But yeah, thanks very much for checking us out. I hope you guys enjoy the interview. If you don't know Stellar Master Elite, make sure to check them out on Bandcamp. Their new album, Hologram Temple, is absolutely sensational. And whilst I'm at it, I do know that very early on in the interview, I fucked the name up and I called it Holographic Temple. So before people freak out, I very quickly realized that I think I was so overwhelmed by the fact that we were finally recording the interview properly that I kind of lost my train of thought a little when we were speaking. But if you do like this, please remember to check out, we'll keep checking in to see any future episodes or future uploads that we do. I'm going to try and do this at least once a week, and we'll hopefully get some additional people that we can interview. I have been fortunate enough over the years to make friends with quite a lot of folks in the industry, and I also have a bunch of nutcases that I'm friends with generally who tend to share my interests, so we'll be wheeling all of them on here over coming weeks. Give us a like, give us a share, subscribe, hit the notification bell, all those great things. And if you don't like us, then go fuck yourself. So enjoy. This is Into the Necrosphere, and we are talking to Stellar Master Elite.
I was about to say I can hear you fine. It's nothing short of a minor miracle, I think. So
I've got this bad boy here.
the lighting rig of doom.
Yes. All right.
Well, like I said, I'm actually pretty blown away by how easy this was, and especially considering the fact that I had it under my nose all the time. We actually use this app for work, so I most likely will be going on about them so much over the course of the show for however long we end up running it, that hopefully they'll consider sponsoring me and throwing some money my way.
Yeah, that looks like a good solution here. This thing here.
Yeah. So and the cool thing about it is it just records the interview in the cloud. So it'll save the video file in the cloud, and then the plan is I'll be able to download that, edit it on my side. And then what I want to do as well is I want to I want to extract the audio, which I think this thing can do automatically. I want to extract the audio and then post it as a podcast.
Yeah, nice. And then you can download it as MP4 or what?
Yeah, you can download it as MP4. You can download it as video. You can do whatever you want with it. So awesome. All right. Well, let's get going. And actually, like I said, the great thing about this is we can actually hear each other properly this time.
Yes.
So you'll just forgive me asking questions that we've spoken about before. But I think just to kind of go back to the beginning and kind of what got this conversation started. I've said to you, and I will say it when I record the intro to this, that for me, I think the new album is probably one of it's certainly the best black metal album I've heard this year so far, if not the best album overall. But it's kind of seemed to come from nowhere. And as I've gotten into some of your older stuff, it's very interesting the progression you guys have taken from being kind of more of a Sonic Rain, almost kind of Satyricon influence type band, and then increasingly this dark electronic stuff has come in, and now the way I would describe you guys is kind of, you're sort of like the halfway between Ruins of Beverast and Red Harvest. But just kind of talk me through the evolution and talk me through how holographic temple came into being.
Yeah, well, I think Hologram Temple sounds like that because we had so much time in between the third album and now Hologram Temple, and that we just had so much time to redefine our sound and our style to play. That's I think it got more personal than the albums before. It's, well, the progression was like the same because we sat in our rehearsal room and we just started to jam, and whatever came into our mind was what we played, and later on we worked on it, and we just recorded it. So I don't know where it comes from. So I think
and that like that to me is the most amazing thing about this album, because everything about it sounds so precise and so so well constructed and orchestrated. I was so surprised when you and I spoke previously, and you said that this is just something that kind of came about in the band room.
Yes.
It's what's the process when you guys are in the band room? Do you guys just do sort of lengthy jamming sessions and you go, hey, that riff sounds pretty good, or how does it work?
That's actually everything that we do. Yeah, we sit down. Well, I sit down, and then we start jamming and testing out riffs, and I don't know how they fit together and stuff like that. And yeah, it's something that's naturally. Sometimes we go to a rehearsal room at Saturday nights, then we get totally wasted just listening to music all night, and whenever we feel it, we start to jam. And that's where the best stuff comes out,
Yeah. And I mean, you guys aren't alone. I mean, you listen to a band. I mean, I'm sure you know Melekesh.
Yeah.
And I remember speaking to Ashmedi a couple of years ago, and he was saying, there's times, not with the previous album, but I interviewed him on the album before that, where he says he's got recordings of them jamming for like 45 minutes, just literally just like continuous non-stop playing. And he says you can pull out 2-3 riffs there that have gone into songs. What just piqued my interest, though, is you mentioned you guys sat down and listened to music, and I would imagine that inspired you to a degree. What were you guys listening to while the jamming sessions for Hologram Temple were taking place?
All kinds of stuff, mainly doom, I would say. Mainly doom metal and some old black metal stuff, and then we just have booze, and then we go for it,
Yeah. So where does the electronic element come in? Because that's something that's you sort of hinted at it on earlier albums, and it's really come to the fore on this album. And I told you the last track, for example. We've a friend of mine and myself have tested it out in hi-fi shops, and I mean it literally makes things shake because of how deep the bass is, and just like the electronic component of it literally makes the song sound like the trumpet sound of Armageddon.
That's we only use analog synthesizers, and they're monsters. They sound so huge if they are being recorded properly. And yeah, that's mainly the influence of my bandmate Dave, who is a huge synthesizer fan, and we both like electronic music, like old 70s, 60s electronic music.
Yeah.
And yeah, I think that's it. But he's the synthesizer nerd, I would say.
Okay, fair enough. So how were you guys feeling when the songs started coming together? Did you guys ever get a sense that you were onto something special? Because obviously, I mean, it's not just me that's responded really positively to this. I think every single person I know who I've played the album to has been blown away by it. You had Black Metal Promotion posted, and the response on there was really great. Did you guys get a sense that there was that you were doing something special, that you were really taking a step forward as far as your music and your writing was concerned?
Speaking for myself, no.
Yeah.
I was actually afraid, because we just came out of the studio and I thought I recorded some pile of shit there. And
are you serious?
Yeah, sure. and then we listen to the song so many times, like thousands of times, and you don't get a feeling for it anymore. You don't you don't have your own you don't have an opinion anymore on what you are doing and what's good, what's not. And then comes the mixing process and the mastering process, and then you are totally lost because you don't feel anything anymore. So yeah.
And outside of the band, I mean, do you guys have anyone that you sort of trust that you can play stuff to and that you can bounce ideas off of, or is it very insular where it's kind of, the band is recording, the band's producing, and that's kind of where it's left?
Well, yep, of course we have friends and stuff like that, but I think the guy which we trust the most is Marcus from Imperium. You know Imperium?
Yeah.
We are recording at his studio, the drums, and he always has a very, very sincere opinion and stuff like that. So that's the guy that's our go-to point, I would say.
Yeah. And what was his opinion of what he was hearing when you guys were recording the song?
Yeah, that's what I wanted to tell you. That he was like, "Wow, that's just a suck up." It's
Oh, really?
And because you don't know anymore what you are doing actually.
Yeah. No, I mean, again, I as I said, I think this album for me is sort of that. It kind of has that really crushing apocalyptic heaviness of Red Harvest, and then that sort of dark, black doom tunnel that Ruins of Everest takes you down. Both of those things are happening at the same time. But I wanted to ask you, I mean, Ruins of Everest, I think is, obviously they're a little bit older than Stellar Master Elite, but bands like that, like Stellar Master Elite, Farsot, there seems to be some really exciting stuff happening in the German black metal scene at the moment. What's your sense of what's happening there? Do you think that there's a renaissance happening in Germany right now for black metal?
That's hard to say because we don't consider as a part of any scene,
Yeah.
We know most of the guys, of course, but there's not much you hear about that. So that's, I don't know. It's strange because it seems to happen without any connection somehow.
Yeah. But that to me is interesting just about black metal generally, because I feel like, I mentioned obviously a couple of bands now in Germany, but then you think of bands like Audacious. Just want to think what's going to come to mind off the top of my head. But I mean, Audacious, Blaze of Perdition to a lesser degree, Migwa. It feels like there's this kind of third, fourth wave of black metal coming out now, which is in some ways disconnected from the traditional black metal scene. Most of the bands don't have corpse paint; they kind of seem to do their own thing. But in a weird way, they've sort of taken the music into an even darker and I think more aggressive and more atmospheric direction. I mean, as somebody who's been a fan of the genre probably for as long or longer than I have, where do you see things going? Do you feel like there's this new generation of bands as well?
Well, for me, it's something like it feels like it's the urge to do something new.
Yeah.
And that's lyrical wise, that's music wise and stuff like that. You try to push things further than they have been, to not follow the rules of black metal anymore, or how it has to be sound, how it has to sound,
Yeah.
That's something good. It's getting more progressive. It's it's getting deeper, I would say. So
yeah. It also reminds me, and I thought about this after we'd spoken or after our first aborted interview attempt. When we were talking about the scene and about kind of that freedom that you just touched on, it reminded me of something Gall said in an interview once, where he was saying that black metal and Satan is something along the lines of it's the ultimate expression of freedom. And in a weird way, I'm kind of reminded of that when I think about a lot of the newer bands, because I feel like that's really what they're expressing. I mean, they don't give a shit about scenes. They don't really care about how they present themselves. I mean, obviously, Mugwai wear the hoodies and the masks and all that shit. But I mean, it's not what it used to be. No one is running around in the forest, looking necro and grim anymore. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it feels like all of this exciting stuff that's coming out now. It really is that expression of freedom that Gull was talking about.
Yeah, sure. That's the total freedom. You don't have to follow any kind of I don't know. You don't have any trademarks anymore, which you really must have in your music. And
Yeah.
Then use some electronic stuff and dress like you want. Why not, man?
Yeah. You don't have to have a illegible logo with at least 3 pentagrams, 2 upside down crosses. Like, oh, you're missing a 666 there.
Yeah,
You need to work that in somehow.
Even though that's the black metal I grew up with,
Yeah.
And I found it ultimately cool when I was younger and stuff like.
Oh yeah.
I still do with some albums, but yeah. That's.
I'll still go back to Blaze in the Northern Sky or
Sure.
any of the earlier Mayhem or Burzum, and all of it sounds just as awesome to me as the first that I heard it. But I think, like, if I compare death metal and black metal, I feel like black metal has taken much bigger steps forward than death metal. I think death metal, there's some really great bands, but there's still a lot of bands that seem to kind of just be stuck in a rut, stuck in their own ways. They, every album is more technical, it's faster, it's more brutal, but I kind of, maybe it's just because I'm getting older, but I'm looking for something more.
Yeah, that's I think the same about the new school death metal, so to speak.
Yeah.
For me, it's like there's still very cool bands outside, new bands, of course, as well. But somehow it all sounds the same.
Yeah, it's kind of like it's as if the art of songwriting has just been lost. Yeah. I'll listen to and I won't mention any names specifically because I might put an interview one of the bands in the future. But I listened to there was last year actually there was a particularly big name, and I'll tell you after the interview who I was referring to, although you might be able to guess. Very big name. The person who fronts the band used to play in a number of very big bands, and I love their stuff. But I listened to the album, and I called up my friend afterwards, who's massive fan of the band as well, and I was like, I don't know what it is. I just don't want to listen to this album again. It sounded cool. It was very well produced, extremely well played. But I don't want to hear it again. It just sounds like it just passed by in a blur.
Yeah, true. It all starts with the production. If you have fully triggered plastic drum sound and everything is pushed to the max in terms of volume wise and stuff like that, it's just tiring. And for me.
Yeah, that expression of freedom, by the way, I mean that I know that sort of has influenced your band's work ethos as well. You guys aren't signed to a label. And you mentioned to me before that's been an intentional thing. You don't want to sign to a label.
Yes, because we've got some bands in our home city who thought the same thing. So we just founded our own label.
And it's just kind of a collective, a co-op where you guys you sort of do your own thing, just put it out through that name.
It's a collective thing. We promote each other, but we pay for our own and stuff like that. Where it's not like you are on a label and you have to record 2 albums in, I don't know, 5 years or something like that. You can do whatever you want, and yeah.
So how much did the exposure of something like black metal promotion help you guys? Because I've often looked at that channel, and I mean it's fucking amazing because I'll spend Friday nights like going through the last 20 things that the dude has uploaded, and I'll probably discover 6 or 7 bands that I think are great. But I mean, I guess I've got 2 questions. One, did you guys know that he was going to post a song or that he was going to post the album? And 2, after that, how much of an increase in interest did you see in the band?
That was kind of amazing. We didn't know that this is going to happen because we were working with some very tiny promotion company from I think he was American and stuff like that, and he did the stuff with Banger TV and black metal promotion, and that really helped to spread the word, kind of stuff. And what we are now seeing is, from what I last heard, is that we sell a lot of albums in UK, America, and Australia, which never happened before. But it's
And that increase in attention, has that inspired you guys in any way to consider playing live?
Yeah, that's a difficult thing right now, because we are both very busy.
Yeah.
And, we are just the two of us in the core band, I would say, and it would require such an amount of work for, I don't know, a 45-minute show or something like that, that I don't know if it will happen. Well, next year we have our 10-year anniversary. Maybe we will do something there, but but permanent, I don't think so.
Yeah, you wouldn't go on tour or anything like that.
No.
But and that's also kind of in a weird way, I think this bands sort of have these two routes to choose from now. You either make music for the love of doing it, or you go on tour, because no one's really making money out of record sales anymore.
No, that's just our passion, and I don't know how many thousands of euros we spent for this band, and never earned anything with that, but doesn't matter.
You've earned plenty of applause, I can tell you that much, and I think you're going to earn plenty more. But I mean, one of your biggest outlets obviously is Bandcamp. As a smaller band and a band that up until recently was was very underground and kind of very niche. How much as an outlet like Bandcamp helped you?
It's a great thing, because you have your music player, you have your shop, all in one page, and that's really great. Well, you have to pay, because you have to pay them to use the service, of course, but I think it's great to get the word out there. It's like MySpace 10 years ago. So
were you guys part of the MySpace? Were you on MySpace?
We were with our previous bands. We were, yes.
Yeah,
sure. But with SME, MySpace was unusable when we started.
Yeah. No, fair enough. So you mentioned obviously it's 10 years next year. If you had to do anything over again, over the course of the 10 years, or you think back to when this band started, is there anything that you would do differently?
No.
Good answer. Okay. So, in terms of the kind of the plans for you guys moving forward now, obviously this album is going to be is going to be your release for this year. Have you guys got any plans? Have you started jamming any new music? What's the what does the future hold for Stellar Master Elite, aside from the possible 10-year reunion show? Or not 10-year reunion, sorry, 10-year anniversary show.
10-year anniversary, yeah. Well, right now we are just focused on getting things done with the new album, and things are quite difficult personally at the moment. So I don't know when we will start again to write new music and stuff like that. But I hope it will happen soon. So.
Well, difficult times help create the best art. So,
yes.
I'm sure that'll makes me look forward to the next release even more. But I wanted to ask you, and again, I know we have spoken about this, but I think for the benefit of the interview, I saw on your Facebook profile that you'd visited Namibia, just north of my mother country. Yes. What is someone who is both grim and necro? What's someone who's grim and necro looking for out in the wilderness?
well, me and my wife really like to travel, and we just thought we never have been to Africa, well, to North Africa, of course, but to the real Africa, I would say we've never been to, and yeah, we just decided to give it a go, and yeah, then we
And,
chose.
and where did you guys go when you were there?
Sorry.
What did you guys all go and see when you were there? Did you go to Etosha, like the game reserve? Did you see any? Did you go on safari?
We did a round trip. Started in Windhoek, going south towards the South African border,
Mm-hmm.
then going west to the Atlantic coast, Swakopmund, and then driving up north to Etosha, and then going back to Windhoek again.
And did you spend any time at Etosha?
Oh yeah, like I think 2 days or something.
Did you see any lions,
Yeah,
rhino, hippo?
yeah.
Yeah.
I was so tired after the after the second day. I was so tired of animals. I just stayed at my hotel. Just,
I always tell people. I mean, I've never been to Namibia, unfortunately, and Etosha is definitely on the bucket list. But I always tell anybody that I know that especially over here in London where I live, if people ask me, what's South Africa like, I say if you like red wine and you like steak and you like animals, there's no place like it. If you are a vegetarian and you don't like animals and you don't drink, then it's probably not the place for you.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's probably not going to be a place you enjoy.
I would love to go to South Africa. Is it?
Yeah, well, I mean, it's well worth visiting. I mean, I'm actually headed there for my 40th birthday in March next year. So I'm really looking forward to that. My girlfriend hasn't been shark cage diving yet, so I'm gonna be dipping her head in the water. And, we'll probably go for a safari as well. I mean, I've seen plenty of those, but no, I mean, for holiday it's great. I'm not sure if I would want to live there again.
That's
But
what I want to say. Is it that violent there, as people say?
and, yeah, well, kind of. I would say from everything that I've seen and heard about places like other violent places like Mexico and Colombia and places like that, I don't think South Africa is quite that bad. I mean, even though the statistics might say otherwise, a lot of the violence in South Africa is contained and it's focused in um, some of the poorer areas. It's focused outside of the cities. But I mean, some of it spills over into the cities as well. You definitely need to have your wits about you when you're there. You can't run around, with your window open and, drive around with your window open. And you can't be quite as carefree as you might be in a place like London or I'm very sure in Germany. And as a matter of fact, actually, about a week before I moved to the UK or before I emigrated to the UK, I actually had a gun pointed at me for that very reason. I was sitting in my car with like a 20-year-old idiot with my mobile phone in my hand, arm out the window. A guy grabbed the phone, and then the next thing I knew, I just saw a gun coming in by the side of the window, and he said, "Get out." And I was at a traffic light, and I just instinct just kicked in. I just hit the petrol, and I don't think I've ever used so much obscenity as I did from the 15-minute drive from that traffic light to my house. I was like, thank God I'm getting out of here. But that's in fairness, that's the only thing that's ever happened to me. Our house was never burgled, and like I said, if you as long as you're careful and ideally if you know somebody there, you'll have an amazing time.
Yeah, it's like, yeah, that's what I wanted to say. Like the first impression I've got from Namibia, we went into Windhoek and saw that every fucking house is with electrical fences and wired windows and stuff like that.
Yeah.
It looked like some barracks or something. That's so, wow.
I'll tell you now, Cape Town and Joburg are probably way worse than Windhoek. I mean, I've not seen what they have there, but I know people that live in estates that have, I mean, literally they'll have one security point when they come into the estate, then they'll have another security point halfway through, like halfway to their house. So there's kind of two checkpoints before they reach their house. I mean, it's like breaking into Area 57 or 47 or whatever it's called, and it's the security there is really strict, and all around the estate there'll be like 20-line electric wire. They'll have they'll have burglar bars and stuff on the doors. The houses will have alarms and stuff. So I mean, the security is pretty tight. which is kind of why I always, when the Oscar Pistorius thing came out, I was like, this sounds like bullshit to me. There's no way that anybody is getting into any one of those estates. Never mind the fact that how does the guy wake up, think, oh, intruder, and just grab the gun and start firing, and somehow not realize that his girlfriend isn't next to him anymore.
Total bullshit. Yeah, but it must be feel like living in a prison there. I can't imagine that because I always live differently because
you get you get used to it pretty quickly. I mean, I've again, even when I'm on holiday there now, I never think about it. I think my girlfriend probably thought it was a bit strange at first, but she soon got used to it. Maybe a bit strange that I when you're in South Africa, you tend to roll up to traffic lights. You don't kind of drive and then stop if you can. you want to get a running start in case anybody pulls you over. But yeah, no. I mean, again, we have so much trouble with knife crime and stuff in London, as an example. It's not. I mean, it's a lot safer, and statistically, obviously, crime in London is a lot lower. But anything can happen anywhere. Is my view. We had an unexploded ordnance. Like a World War II bomb. They discovered one literally about 100 meters up the road from where I live, and the police came in and they're like, "Oh, so we're evacuating the entire neighborhood." And I said to him, just out of interest, if that thing explodes, what happens? And he's like, "It will flatten for everything within 400 square meters."
Yeah.
It was literally, as I was leaving the house, I called up the insurance and immediately like, I've got these speakers that I just bought that I need to upgrade the insurance on.
Well, shit can happen everywhere. Like my girlfriend, my wife now, and me were attacked after the Ruins of Deveras concert in Trier, where I live.
Oh yeah.
And we went home with a taxi and got out, and we were basically in front of our house, and then a guy came and knocked us both down. That's it.
Jesus. And what? He just knocked you guys down for fun, or did he take anything?
Out of nowhere. No, he didn't take anything. Just he I've got a KO, and then my wife chased him, and then she went KO too.
Jesus, man. Yeah, no, I mean that's not good at all. No, I have heard that it's the crime in places like Sweden and Germany is going up as well, but I think that's an issue that's across most countries, and definitely in Europe. So
it was always like that. Wrong place, wrong time, And
yeah, definitely. And it's like things can just happen immediately. And again, it's not like. Have you ever watched a documentary called Cartel Land?
No.
Really, really great documentary. It's on Netflix. It's a guy that kind of, I think he travels through Mexico for something like a year, and then he meets up with members of the cartels, and he meets up with the cops and stuff like that. But I mean, over there's people hanging from bridges and stuff, or people lying dead in the streets at 12 in the afternoon. Well, and the thing is, people just walk past it like it's nothing. They're like, oh well, we see that every single day. This one family was saying that they're I think the father in the family is a policeman. He can't go to work without a mask on, because if they can detect who it is, then he places his whole family at risk. So no matter what happens with the knife crime, with these fucking idiot little hoodies over here and the knives, I've yet to walk past the corpse and go, it's nothing. I see that every day.
What is it stinks.
Yeah. I mean, I'm surprised there's not more black metal coming out of Mexico, to be honest with you, because there's plenty to be pissed off about.
There's a lot of black metal bands in the Americas.
Yeah.
But Middle America, South America is huge in terms like that. But nobody gets to listen to them.
Well, you say that. One of the bands that they're kind of like the stellar master elite of 2018, in that I also discovered them on Black Metal Promotion, and it just blew me away. Was Celt. I don't know whether you've heard their stuff before.
No.
I'll send you I'll send you a link, but it's kind of like, imagine early Satyricon and maybe stuff like, and then more modern black metal like Blaze of Perdition, Magua stuff like that. It's really, really, really good. It's kind of it's hard to describe because there's a real sort of there's a real originality to what they do. But I mean, spectacularly recorded, fucking really well played. Really aggressive, brutal. I am 100% sure you will love it. I think it's fucking awesome. And they're from Venezuela. Yep. I mean, there's barely fucking working electricity in Venezuela. I don't know how they do their rehearsals over there.
I like the stuff from there because it's so it's so old school and just so fucking brutal because they don't give a shit about anything. Yes.
That's
what I really like. Yes.
I definitely find like there's different countries have sort of spawned different scenes, but the scenes all have a very unique sound. Like in the States, you've got some really great bands as well. You've got Leviathan. You've got there's a band that I recently discovered, Merc Rider. Who are just that Merc Rider album is fucking mind blowing.
Yeah, Nightbringer, of course, and Aurator is really nice.
Absolutely. Leviathan. I mean, Leviathan's been around for a while, but I mean that last record of theirs that came out in 2015, I can't remember the name now.
But somehow,
Genius.
The black metal from the United States still has something weird to me. I don't know.
Well, it sounds like Merc Rider almost, like as an example, almost sounds like High on Fire making a black metal album.
Yeah.
Which I mean is a big compliment because I fucking love High on Fire as well.
Yeah, but you can't compare their black metal to I don't know, to European black metal. It's totally impossible because it's something totally different.
Yeah, no, and I agree with you, and that's kind of the cool thing. It's like the different regions, different geographies have sort of developed their own style and their own sound, and it almost makes it so. I mean, I remember a couple of years ago, the French scene was really starting to bubble up.
They were always strong, yeah.
Yeah, like Blut aus Nord, Deathspell Omega, and it was kind of like there was a time when if a band came from France, I was immediately interested in hearing them. Yep, but now you can't really discriminate. It's like if a band's from Sweden, I'm interested. If a band's from Norway, I'm interested. Whether it's the UK scene is fucking mental. I mean, there's a band that came out this year, but they brought out their album this year, I should say, called Abduction. Who are just staggeringly good. The Acrococker guys, they've done voices. They've obviously brought out a new Acrococker album a little while ago. They also did another Antichrist Imperium record last year, which was fucking completely crushing.
Or the first two Code albums.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that first Code album is a masterpiece, absolute masterpiece.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, it's like I mean, every single country. I mean, I just heard a band from Australia, Consummation, which just blew me away. I thought it was like that was the best kind of blackened death metal album I've heard for a very, very long time. Everything is really discordant and nasty sounding. It's exactly the way that music should sound.
Like the Australians are.
Yeah, no, that is true. All right, brother. Well, listen, I'm going to let you go, and I'm so glad that we finally got to do this interview, and I'm glad that it's kind of I think it's the most fitting way to kick off into the Necrosphere, and I hopefully we're going to stay in touch. I think your band is just is like I said, just blew me away, completely took me by surprise, and I would be equally surprised if anything else comes out over the course of the next year that I think is better. So, congratulations and best of luck on the new album, and thanks so much for your time. Anything that you want to plug or anything that you want to add before we call it quits?
Yeah, thank you very much for the interview, and like you said, hope we stay in touch and meet up for a barbecue soon. And
well, if you're ever in, I told you, if you're ever in London, mate, there's the barbecue fire will be burning. So we're actually about to move house soon, so we're gonna have we'll have plenty of space if you guys are ever over. Don't hesitate to let me know.
Thank you very much. And band-wise, we do our best, of course.
Well, I'm looking forward to the next one, but I'm still tearing through the current one, and as I said to you. Your music is being used frequently when we go, myself and my fellow audiophile enthusiast, when we go to hi-fi shops, we frequently use your music to both test the systems, but also to chase anybody else out of the listening room that's there.
But that's the best compliment.
Well, yeah. The best thing that we had was the other day. There were these three old guys that were there, and they were Dire Straits fans, and brilliant guys. But the guy came to me. He's like, "Man, that music that you guys listening to, it's a real racket, isn't it?" I was like, yeah, I can imagine it's going to sound like a bit of a racket to you.
Very good.
So awesome. All right, dude. Take care of yourself, and like I said, keep in touch. We'll speak soon.
Yeah, see you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.